Okay, so let's get on to dynamic size number of buckets. Select the color specific. At some point regarding dynamic sizing, to resize the hash map, you have to also update the positions of element based on the new size of the buckets, and this process is called rehashing. The average number of entries in a bucket, which is the total number of entries divided by the number of buckets, should give a good estimate on when the average number of entries in a bucket, which is the total number of entries divided by the number of buckets, should give a total should give an estimate on when the hash map should be resized, and the size of individual buckets doesn't need to be checked. Okay, so another way was to uh, take in a to consider a threshold, and if the um, threshold reaches a certain and if the threshold reaches a certain value, then we know that it's time to resize the map. Uh, then we know that it's time to resize the map. Okay, so I'll alright, so we have size and a load factor, and I can compute. Okay, this is hash map create. Okay, let's create some bunch of definitions. Right. I can keep it here. Some code that is okay. Original function. Improvement, let the user specifically decide the size of the buckets, and lets the user create with size. Create with size, and I don't have a definition for it, so I want to jump to its definition. Yep, there won't be none. Right, hash map, default hash, then we have hash map create. Alright, so I want function to create a hash map. We'll take this, and this is create with size. Right. Create with size. Create with size. Then I want to copy all of this into here. Right. Okay. Then we compare this. Right. But so I stick with the original code. Right. Okay, so I have to destroy this, create shell, hash map find bucket. Yeah, okay, maybe if I'd say, okay, so I do specify a size T buckets, right? Okay, so how can I differentiate these? We create with size, create with bucket size, create with bucket size. Okay. Create with bucket size. Okay, so I have this create with bucket size, decide the size of buckets. Then when I have create with bucket size, काम कर रहा हूँ. हाँ, bucket and then I have, okay, so hash code, we take the hash and then we with this size, right? Okay, this works. Okay, so I can put this way, which way it will work both the ways, right? Okay, so I can put a condition if huh if size is 0, right? Okay, so I want, so when we create size t size, so I want to buckets go with if, okay, I check buckets should not be 0, error, invalid number of buckets given. Then we set it size equals buckets, right? Okay, then we put in here buckets, okay, literally, so I didn't do anything. Okay, so I size t buckets and we, okay, हाँ देखो कलर चेंज करो इसको. Define the size of the buckets explicitly. Okay, then I can change size here. Dear account, I don't need to use dear account, I can simply use map size. Okay, so I can original code, yeah, I think no this is right, but I need to okay, based on if size is given or not, we will hash differently. So I can go int bucket n equals, I'll check map dash size. If it is 0, then we go hash nothing, I don't, nothing. So default number of buckets, right? Else I go hash I do initiate it, right? Create, yeah. So I don't have hash, so I'll say map size is 0 and map say load factor equals 0 0. Initializing the variable. um I should have a size updated. Okay, I think I'll go bucket size, right? So I want to find size, and then I want to replace it with bucket size. Okay, so replace find 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 yep, replace bucket size, then we'll find again again place uh, then I'll find okay, so we're done, right? Okay, so I have bucket size not updated at every entry. Size size, then I can just set bucket size a default value, right? Okay, so I can just have bucket size and then I can call the size right, load factor size. Okay, I have a bucket size updated at every entry. Okay, so maybe I can just combine everything into one function, right? Maybe we can combine everything. Original function, and I'll just go hash map create. They provide a buckets buckets number, or I can go bucket size, right? Okay, okay, bucket size, and then I want a okay, bucket size updated at every entry, size, load factor, and then size and capacity. Okay, do I have history? Let's go hash map Quora. Yeah, okay, so initial capacity when a hash map is created, that is an initial capacity 16. Okay, threshold would be 12, so your capacity Okay, if the capacity and the number of entries, right? Inserting entries, when you add entries, print size. So this is the size. Okay, I'll say this is the capacity, and then we'll have entries. Okay, so uh, the total max the map can store, and this is the current number of elements in the map. Number of elements in the map. Okay, so then helps us determine a threshold for resizing. So bucket capacity, bucket size, capacity, and then entries. Okay, if bucket size is 0, then we then I can get size. I can have a get size function, right? Get, there we go. Okay, function to get the size, function to get the size of the hash map on the size G map, get size hash map. That is all you need. The hash map create. We go with this bucket size, and then we have a size G, capacity, and then okay, I'll go with int capacity, int bucket size. Okay, but size T bucket size. It will check bucket size, capacity, and double load factor. We'll go with create type of buckets. This is improvement 2.1. Improvement. Let's the user define an initial capacity or initial buckets, right? Okay, so okay, in Java hashmap initial capacity, when hashmap is created, it has an initial capacity, default is 16, and a load factor is. Okay, so capacity is different from size, right? And buckets are different. So am I creating initial capacity, meaning it resizes the entries exceed, but what are the number of buckets? Okay, the capacity is the number of buckets in the hash table. Okay, so capacity is the number of buckets. So apparently we just need this. Okay, let's say either define an initial capacity. Okay, bucket size and current number of elements in the map. Okay, bucket size. Okay, so bucket size into load factor will go. Okay. Or called capacity. in some places. Okay. The current number of elements in the map helps us determine the threshold for resizing. Okay, double load factor, size to bucket size. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's say that define initial capacity slash bucket size and a load factor. If no load factor is defined, then bucket, then hash map won't resize. Bucket size, and if bucket size is -1, then it will go back to its default behavior. Okay. Then I have bucket size entries, bucket size entries, updated at every add slash delete function call. Okay. So load factors helps us determine a threshold for resizing. Let me go bucket size entries load factor. Right. Bucket size. Let me go int bucket size. Then double load factor. Right. Double load factor. No load factor is defined. That is 0.0. Okay. So I want to check. I can this okay. If bucket size less than 0, right, then map dash bucket size equals default number of buckets, right? I'll just copy this default number of buckets. Else okay, if bucket size is this is non-zero, okay, is a negative number and load factor is equal to 0.0. Okay. Okay, if it is negative and load factor is also 0.0, this else if bucket size is okay, bucket size is less than 0, right, so it is negative. We don't want to define, we will let you handle it. and the load factor is 0.0. Okay, these are the main conditions. Then bucket size equals bucket size is default number of buckets. Okay, now default number of buckets, or if load factor is greater than 0, okay, so both of these conditions should be true, right? Okay, my bucket size is default. Okay, if load factor is not 0, if bucket size is 0, okay, both of these conditions, right? Or put this expression, right? This is the case. Or the second case is that even though bucket size is less than 0, I'd say less than equal to 0, right? Less than equal to 0, less than equal to 0. Okay, so it should be other way around. If load factor is 0, 0, and this is also 0, it's okay. And if load factor is 0, 0, right? If the left hand is then only the right hand will be done. Okay, so this should be like this. If load factor is equals to 0. Okay, so if this condition is false, then we move on to here, that if bucket size is greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1, right? Okay. If bucket size and if bucket size is greater than 1, given load factor is still 0, right? Alrighty then. Okay. So if load factor is 0 and the bucket size is less than or equal to 0, define the number of, so v, that is default behavior, right? Default behavior. Now if bucket size is 1, that means this is not 0. Okay. Okay, this is 0. This means that this is 0, right? Then this is greater than 1, and we can say that map bucket size equals bucket size. Okay, so I'll say this is default behavior. default behavior. So if load factor is 0 and bucket size is less than equals to, when we go here, if it is less than equals to 0, though I should, okay, 0.0, then we have else if, okay, so if this condition fails, right, okay, but what happens, okay, if we go here and bucket size is not, so we'll move here. Okay, if load factor is not less than equal to 0, then we check are the number of buckets explicitly defined. Yes. Okay. Else, and we'll define map dash load factor. Okay, so if both are defined, only then, okay, so if both are defined, only then can we get to resizing, right? 0, define the size of the buckets explicitly, else both the, okay, so if this condition is false, right, and if this condition is true and this condition is false, if this is greater, then we'll check here, is this greater, and if this condition is false, though we check here, okay, load factor is 0.0, default behavior, right, this is the default behavior. Bucket size is this. Oh man, what is happening? Define the size of bucket explicitly. This, maybe I should just do it. Else if these conditions, okay, if both are non-zeros, right, okay, so I'll check for greater than equal to, and I'll check for greater than 1, right. If both are non-zeros, right, if both are non-zeros, then we say that we have map bucket size equals bucket size, and map load factor equals load factor, right. So this is it. Then we have bucket size is this and default, okay. So if both, now else if load factor, if bucket size is less than, okay, if load factor is less than equals to 0.0, right, and bucket size is greater than 1. Man, I can just check based on this, right? If load factor is 0, there is no resizing happening, right? So all of this is literally bullshit. Okay, so if, check, go check. Okay, just the condition if this is not defined, then we move on to default behavior. Right. So you have to explicitly define this for this to work. Okay. If bucket size is greater than 0, then we'll go map bucket size equals bucket size and map load factor equals load factor, else we have default behavior. What am I trying to do? What am I trying to do? Hash map create and bucket. I think int is better. Okay, if you provide a -1, then I know that we'll set to default behavior, bucket size 0. I don't know what am I doing. Okay, if okay, so if the bucket size is greater than equals to 0, right? So explicit maybe I should create different functions. Let's say create the default implementation, create with fixed size, create fixed now create static, right? You would provide a bucket size, right? Okay, so let's see the definition. Factor. And create fixed size, create static size, hash map create default implementation, let's say the specifically decides the name. create with buckets. I don't know. Improvement 2.2. Let's say they define an initial capacity of bucket size and a load factor. Hash map. This is right. Pointer to DRA. Okay. So I have hash map. So create resizable. Okay, what's the opposite of resizable? Opposite of fixed. Opposite of resizable is fixed or static. So I'm going to create static. Non-resizable. Create resizable. Okay. Hash map compare. Hash map hash size T and double size T bucket size. Okay. Create resizable, create static, right? Okay. Mention to creator. User defined static hash map with user defined bucket size. This should be size T bucket size. Okay. Compare right. Okay. Just check if the bucket size value is valid, right? So check bucket size should be greater than 0, or we throw in an error, invalid bucket size. Okay, so we define bucket size, then we create that number of buckets, right? Buckets and max. This is the max number of buckets, and we'll take it the entity the max. Hash map node. Okay, hash map. Okay, this is the find bucket, right? Okay. By default, we have bucket size is 0 and load factor is 0. So default original code. Bucket size and entries equals 0. Also, I need to add sizing additional variable part of improvement. So map entry is equals 0. Okay. Bucket size greater than 0. Valid buckets. Right. Then we have the user decide. Hashmap create. Okay. Default number of buckets. Yes. 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 Okay. Size T. Okay. Create go static. Right. So with the bucket size, and check bucket size, then enable this. Okay. So hash map. Then if bucket size is 0, right, then we hash it with, if bucket size is 0, default hash, else we hash it with map bucket size. Okay. Okay, based on size of hash differently. Improvement. And, we check bucket num should be greater than equals to 0. Invalid bucket num bucket get, we get the bucket, then DRA count of buckets. Okay, you start with the default, whatever size is specified here, and it can grow, and it can grow on its own. Okay, if the bucket does not exist, get a flag, generate index. Now we set it up with the size, so I can simply use default size of map. This will throw an error, so okay, no, it won't throw an error. Count of each array, I think each array should start with a minimum size of, yeah, it's okay, this is okay, but won't a lot of be going to waste, right? Okay. Okay, let's keep it like this for now. Adds by sorting the data. Okay. Get node, original code, and then we just return the node here, and hashmap find bucket. There we go. Okay, all else's does just exactly the same, right? So we just, okay, so I have not defined check num should be greater than equals to 0, and valid with the default number. If bucket size is 0, else we default with the hash with the bucket size. Okay, then we have but I do set in case of right, so just create static, and then we have max at the end, right? And then max was there. We have static number of these. Okay. Um, then check invalid bucket found. Yeah, bucket num. Store it for return. Gonna pause it. Okay, bucket num. We get. If the bucket is not created, then we create it, and if the bucket does not exist and the create flag is on, then we create a new derivative bucket and add it at the generated index. Right, create, and then we set it. Right, okay. Now we simply return the pointer to the D array. Okay, so this function helps to add a node with a key value pair. Okay, so push improvement and node. We create a node and then we search it, and then we return R. I think this should work. Create, say, static. Let me try and test everything is same. Like Windows. Oh, I'm at the wrong place. Right. Hash map. That hash map dot h50. There we go. Hash map. Oh, sorry. Here. Hash map. I've not implemented it, but okay. Static void print DRA size DRA dot h. Print DRA size, huh? DRA dot h. Anything else? Print DRA size. Okay, let me just open sub. Oh, see the hard way. Sorry, DRA dot h. Print DRA size. I don't know, dude. Yep, you don't know. Okay. Warning is defined but not used. Okay. We make let's see. Okay, so all tests have passed. That is great. Okay. So at least this works, right? If we give it another, check. Okay, I want to invalid bucket size. I want to test invalid bucket size. To throw an error, yeah. Error invalid bucket size, fail to create map. Okay. Okay, this is good. Done. Right, the user decides the number of Okay, create resizable. Let me go and define this. Letting the user decide the buckets in the hash map. Okay, this is improvement 2.1, right? Let's just copy this. Create resizable. Create static. Create. I just go dynamic. Create dynamic. Then I can add a double load factor. Okay, so I should define. Yeah, okay. So go map at load factor is 0.0 and map entry is equals 0. Okay. Click. Click. So I don't really need to define, these are already zeros. Click. However, you got the bucket size. This for the comparison hash is not provided. Let's check the default implementation. Check. So load factor is valid. Check. Load factor should be greater than 0.0. Error invalid bucket size. Invalid load factor. Bucket size. Okay. Check if the load factor is valid. Load factor is 0.0. Then we update load factor equals load factor bucket size. Then I can create static inline function. So destroy, should create find bucket. Okay, here's where we add, right? Find bucket. Okay, map set. Okay, I'll check if the current number of entries okay function to resize the hash. So void static void hash map resize hash map. Okay, go static inline double hash map get capacity uh, get threshold hash map, so it will return me map no one will call this function, but we want to call hash map this bucket size time load factor get threshold. Let's decide when to resize. Okay, resize. So we want to double the size, and okay, I'll go with these are the improvements, right? Part of improvement 2.2 right here. Part of improvement 2.2. Say revision 1. We want to double the size and copy the and rehash the value in the new array. Okay, I think we'll take it from here next time.